No.
1. The 51st state? There's a lot more to Washington, D.C. than monuments and cherry blossoms, and we mean a lot more. Washington, D.C. has more residents than some states. With 706,000 residents, it's more populous than both Wyoming and Vermont. This is just one of the reasons its residents and representatives are pushing harder than ever for it to become a state. In June 2020, the House of Representatives passed a bill for the first time to make D.C. a state, and while it likely won't pass the Senate, it's still a major milestone. 2. Its statehood was prohibited by the Constitution. When the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, they didn't want a single state to have the disproportionate power that they believed the capital would have. So they specifically wrote in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution that the seat of government would be a federal district under the exclusive jurisdiction of Congress. Both Virginia and Maryland gave up land to form the district, and its southern location was a compromise, the Compromise of 1790, wherein the federal government assumed the state's debt remaining from the Revolutionary War. States like Maryland and Virginia had already paid off their debts and were reluctant to be taxed to help reduce the debts of other states, so the location of the capital was a bargaining chip. 3. The government buildings won't be part of the state. If you don't live in or near D.C., the monuments, National Mall, and government buildings are probably what come to mind when you think of the district. But should D.C. become a state, those things wouldn't be part of the deal. Per the recent statehood bill, H.R. 51, the federal buildings that are the most visible part of D.C., like the White House and Capitol Building, will be considered their own Capital District, and not be part of any state. It's the rest of D.C.'s 68.3 square miles that would actually be the state. 4. The district is only partly named for the first president. Originally, in 1791, George Washington chose 100 square miles of land in Maryland and Virginia to be the site of the nation's capital. However, 31 of those miles were returned to Virginia in 1847, which is why D.C. today is about 1/3 smaller. The district was named Columbia, which had been a nickname for America during the Revolutionary War, in honor of Christopher Columbus, and the new federal city added to the territory was called Washington, for, yes, George. Georgetown and Alexandria were also cities included in the district. 5. George Washington never lived there. Turns out our first president never resided in D.C., one of the many George Washington facts you never learned in school. Washington died before the White House was finished, though he did lay its cornerstone on October 13, 1792. John Adams was the first president to live in our country's capital. 6. Only one president is buried in D.C. This presidential trivia is actually true, and that president is Woodrow Wilson. His body has been in the Washington National Cathedral since his death in 1924. 7. There's a crypt under the U.S. Capitol. George Washington was supposed to be buried in a crypt under the U.S. Capitol, but he preferred to be laid to rest at his home in Mount Vernon. So, the U.S. Capitol is home to an empty crypt. 8. D.C. residents are a diverse bunch. According to Census Bureau data, residents of Washington, D.C. speak at least 168 different languages at home. The city also houses more than 175 embassies and international cultural centers. 9. The Washington Monument used to be the tallest structure in the world. At 555 feet and 5 1/8 inches tall, the memorial held this title for 5 years after it was completed in 1884. Then the Eiffel Tower came looming in at 984 feet. Don't be alarmed, but the Washington Monument reportedly does sway 1/25 of an inch when the wind blows at least 30 miles per hour. 10. The Library of Congress is the world's largest library. It has more than 170 million objects in the collection, including a top-secret FBI interrogation manual. Just another secret the FBI doesn't want you to know. It's only available because some guy copyrighted the secret document, and according to the law, anything copyrighted must be available to anyone with a library card at the Library of Congress.